This is a HeadGum podcast.
Today's podcast is brought to you in part by AdamandEve.com. Adam and Eve, for her, for him, for couples. Go to AdamandEve.com for a limited time only. You'll get 50% off of any item. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll receive 3 free adult DVDs plus a free mystery gift. And to top it all off, they'll even throw in free shipping on your entire order. Now, in order to get this discount, for all of you nerds out there, go to AdamandEve.com and use the code NERDS at the checkout. That's NERDS, NERDS, at AdamandEve.com. If you use that code, you can get 50% off of just about any item. Adam and Eve, the leader in adult toys and products.
I'm Yasmin, the host of the podcast Witty, Women in Tech Talk to Yaz, where I talk to female coders and execs about how they're shaking up the tech industry. Subscribe on iTunes and like us on Facebook.
Hello, this is Shade Anozie with the SNC podcast. Join me bi-weekly as I talk with some of Nigeria's unique music producers and songwriters about their creative process and more. Follow us at the SNC podcast on SoundCloud. Cheers!
Universal FanCon is a brand new convention coming to the Baltimore Convention Center in April of 2018. FanCon will be a round-the-clock event featuring comics, cosplay, gaming, celebrity guests, music, and more with a focus on diversity and inclusion. Get your tickets now at universalfancon.com because geek is universal.
I am Alelia Bundles, Madam C.J. Walker's great-great-granddaughter and biographer, and you are listening to the Black Girl Nerds podcast.
Hey guys, this is Alexander Stiff. I play Storm in X-Men Apocalypse, out May 27th, and you are listening to Black Girl Nerds.
Hey, what's up? This is Morris Chestnut, and you're listening to the Black Girl Nerds podcast.
Hey, I'm Tommy Davidson. You're listening to the Black Girl Nerds podcast. That's right. It exists.
Hey, what's going on? It's Soraya from Empire, and you're listening to the Black Girl Nerds podcast.
Peace, y'all. What's up? This is Akil, the MC from the Jurassic 5, and you are now tuned in to Black Girl Nerds podcast. Yeah, I like nerdy girls.
This is Mark Bernard, and you are now listening to the Black Girl Nerds podcast.
Hey all, I'm Yetide Badaki. I play Bill Quist on American Gods, and you are all now listening to Black Girl Nerds podcast.
Hey, I'm Jean Grey. I'm a polymath. If you don't know what that is, look it up. This is Black Girl Nerds podcast. Yep.
Boys and girls, it's the BGN. Coming from the Marvel world to the DC friends. All the way from Hollywood to the PCN. She defends everyone from sleazy men. Won't apologize for spitting Shonda rhymes. The space that we make is never colonized. We're talking games and movies and actors. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Yeah, better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Ha. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 118 of the Black Girl Nerds podcast. My name is Jamie, and I am your host. This episode is the Vulture Fest episode. That's right. On May 20th through the 21st, the Vulture Festival, which takes place in New York City, happened, and it's a pop culture extravaganza that's sponsored by both Vulture and New York Magazine. Our correspondent KB had a fantastic time attending several different panels and doing some one-on-one interviews. And in this episode, we're going to cover some of those panels and one-on-one interviews that she did over at Vulture Fest. The segments featured in this episode are from Jane the Virgin, American Gods, and Riverdale. She does interviews with actors Luke Perry, showrunner Byran Fuller, and creator and writer of Jane the Virgin, Jennie Urman. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And then the final segment is a Jane the Virgin panel for all of you fans out there of the show. And in that panel, you'll get to hear from stars Gina Rodriguez, Brett Deer, Yael Grabales, Andrea Navarro, Jaime Camille, and Jennie Urman. So hope all of you TV fans and geeks out there will enjoy this amazing episode of the Vulture Festival. And all of these segments and recordings and interviews feature our host, KB. So sit back, relax, and enjoy BGN 118, the Vulture Fest episode. American Gods TV showrunner Byran Fuller.
Hi everyone, so it's KB here and I am with Byran Fuller. Just wanted to grab him at Vulture Fest just for a couple of questions. So now that American Gods has dropped, let me tell you, I can say that it is far beyond what I expected.
What did you expect?
Well, I was just about to say, I'm not entirely sure that I even remember what I expected once I saw the episodes. So tell me what the creative process was like creating this masterpiece.
Well, really, it was just about being fidelitous to Neil's book, and both Michael and I had read it like in paperback, so it was probably 2002 when we read it. And I remember reading it on the set of the pilot of Dead Like Me and thinking that this is amazing. I can't wait to see what people do with it with the adaptation. And then it defied adaptation for quite a while. And fortunately for us, time just synchronized for us to be able to be part of it at a time when the nation went awry and made stories that were about the foundation of this country into villainous tales of, parasites who would corrupt us, as opposed to celebrating how everyone got here and the family histories that are shared with folks who know when Grandpa came over and Grandma came over. And now immigration is such a hot issue for all the wrong reasons.
Especially because we're all immigrants. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even get into
Yeah.
the current political climate. But you're right. And there's so many themes surrounding kind of new gods and old gods and the immigrants that are coming over and how we view certain things, and even being super relative to what we're going through now, but how even our cell phones and the media and things like that have kind of become gods for this current generation. So when you read the book, I'm curious, creatively speaking, did you immediately see yourself going in the direction that you did? Because honestly, it's probably one of the most visually stunning things I've ever seen on television, honestly. And I remember just being captured by your use of colors, by the way you shot, by the way it's shot, the colors, even the cast. The cast is phenomenal, and each of them step into the role very well, all of their roles rather, very well. So I'm curious as to, when you read the book, did you have kind of your heart set on a couple of things that you wanted to portray visually, and what were those things specifically?
Well, I think, the book is so visually aggressive in terms of the ideas that it's presenting and such outlandish scenes that we knew, because of where we are technology-wise, that we had the skills to be able to pull it off, whereas when it came off, I don't think that would have been possible in the television landscape the way it is now.
No, definitely not in 2002.
No. And I think one of the things that, when we first started talking about it, we of course talked about Bilquis and how to pull that off, and we talked about Salim and the Jinn and how to pull that off. And it wasn't so much of oh my gosh, how are we going to do this, as much as it was, we've got to do this precisely and elegantly and in a sophisticated way that makes anybody's issues that they're bringing to the table inconsequential because they're looking at a thing of beauty.
Right. So they're telling me that you have to go, but just what is your, I have to know because you're talking about the beauty of how visually stunning it really is and bringing these characters to life. I'm curious, for the first season, what is your favorite episode so far and why? And have we seen it yet? Because, we're going into episode 4, so... You
haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I'm torn because episode 4 is, I think, one of the clearest, strongest narratives of the season because it's a single person's point of view and it is all about Laura Moon.
Okay.
And that was the thing that was very exciting for us to explore because she's a relatively minor character in the book and we wanted her to be a major player, and like we did with a lot of the female characters, we needed them to be much bigger.
Right, than they really are in the story.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Which is one of the things that I love so much because it speaks so much, it speaks so much volumes to like having like female empowerment and what they mean to the overall themes of the story. And so I'm really glad that you guys chose to expand on them the way that you did.
And have you seen the first 4?
I have.
Okay, so we should get you the other 4 because I'm curious what you think of the finale because it's all about female empowerment. And the Coming to America is Bilquis is coming to America, and it's 20 minutes of the episode is just telling her story. So I'm curious what you think about
Okay,
that.
perfect. We'll definitely visit that.
Jane the Virgin TV showrunner, Jennie Urman.
So, I am a Black nerd.
Yes.
I am really obsessed with Jane the Virgin. I have been since the beginning. So
I love your writing about it. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about like where this passion to kind of see fearless and diverse women on screen came from. Where you got the idea?
Well, when I started to adapt this, because it was originally a telenovela, I thought the family has to be huge fans of telenovelas, then they're going to be Latina because of that. Because of their passion for it. I've always just loved writing about women. I love writing women. I like writing about complicated women and relationships about women. So in developing Jane, I wanted it to be a love letter to the telenovela. I think because I'm a white woman growing up, I didn't realize the power of representation until I started to do Jane, and then the tweets and the emails and about how much it means to see yourself on screen and see yourself represented in a positive way. It moved me, it opened my eyes, and it made me even more, I think, committed and, inspired by the response, honestly. And, I'm inspired by the actors that I have, and I'm inspired by what they say all the time, and I just try to listen and make sure that the show is a force of optimism in this crazy world.
And you do have such a dynamic cast, so I have to ask, what was the process like getting everyone to come on board, finding these people who seemingly are the very perfect fit for every single
Gina was the third person that came to audition, and I came home and I told my husband, we found her. I was more sure about finding her than I was about finding my husband. I was like, she's the one, she's the one. And, so each person came in and it was like they clicked in a way. We saw Andrea after we had Gina, and each one of them was honestly the only choice for them. And when you go through the process of casting, you have to bring in 2 or 3 people to the network and studio so that they can kind of pick. And we had everyone, but we'd have to be like, okay, and we'll bring in, other people too. But we just knew who this cast was. Jaime, I offered it to him because I'd seen his work. I saw him both in telenovelas and in movies, and so I had a Skype conversation with him. Yael was in an episode of mine and of another TV show, and we could not find this character. And then suddenly I was like, Yael, and she came in, and it was just, and I had a great director, Brad Silberling, who just has such a great eye for people and talent, and so it was a very confident casting, and but Gina, we knew we had to find Jane. If we don't find Jane, what show do we have? Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I know you have to run, but I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
This to talk to me.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Actor Luke Perry.
So, Luke, I am KB with Black Girl Nerds, and we are completely I will admit I love it, every single facet of it.
Kind of you to say.
Yeah, so Fred seems to be kind of the only normal parent on the show. I mean, I think that we thought Hermione was kind of normal, and, clearly in the season finale she tried to pimp out Veronica a little bit. And so we're kind of like, what is going on? But Luke seems to be kind of the steady hand, so I have to ask, I'll give it because I wouldn't be a true fan if I didn't. Do you know if Fred is still alive yet? Do you know?
I do not, but if you notice, I'm wearing a lot of black.
Right. Oh gosh, it's a black
and
symbolic of you
not
being
just
in
because
mourning.
it's beautiful, but I'm just saying, everybody can figure that out.
Okay, so it's not, that hurts my heart clearly because, not only do I love you
I like
as an
being
actor.
I like being the normal character because you can go anywhere from there, right? Anything can happen, whereas everybody is already kind of committed to, that's the crazy one, and that's the Fred.
But Fred is also the most rounded, and so, that breaks my heart because, I think that what Riverdale needs are responsible parents. Clearly, because everyone is going crazy, the children, even some of the parents, and so I think they need a bit of normalcy, and right now, if Fred is not going to survive, there are no more kind of grounded parental units for the kids to kind of go to for sound advice.
Great observation. But people can always change. FP can be a good guy, right? And
That's
you got
true.
that he will be.
That's true. I hope so. I hope we see FP out of jail. I hope that we see him kind of stepping up to the plate in Jughead's life and changing things. But I don't know, because Jughead is going down kind of a serpenty path.
But they got really cool jackets.
They do, right? And Jughead really is looking for more love in kind of a different scenario. So I'm really hoping that,
that he doesn't go to jail and find that love there.
Absolutely. Well,
yes, I know what you're saying. Well said.
Yes, exactly. So thank you. I know that you have to go. Lots of people to talk to, but thanks so much.
In our final segment, let's take a listen to the Jane the Virgin panel.
Unfortunately, Justin Baldoni had to pull out last minute, but we'll be sure to talk about.
He's at the gym.
He's
becoming even more beautiful.
Yeah. No, he's having a second child. We all know we're very excited. We're supporting him being with his wife right now. So I wanted to start by talking about just what makes Jane the Virgin so unique. And it's interesting mix of genres all in one show. And when I first started watching it, I was kind of reminded of Arrested Development a little, just because of the narrator and the meta sense of humor. But I'm curious, Jenny, what other books, films, TV shows were influential to you in setting the tone for this show?
A mix of things. I would say the magical realism of Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Isabella Allende. I wanted to kind of capture a little bit of that. Amelie was an inspiration in her love of magic and the magical realism, and Gilmore Girls and that really tight mother-daughter dynamic. And then Ugly Betty, I thought, also was a wonderful adaptation of a telenovela. So I think all of those were kind of in the soup that went into the show.
That's actually exactly what I get from it.
I'm going to say what makes this show so unique actually is this woman, because she decided to write for a girl. She didn't put a specificity on ethnicity or culture or religion. Those are like the undertones. Those are like the additions to this girl and this family's life. But it's so crazy because if it was a Caucasian family, I don't think we would have thought it was that innovative, But what Jenny did was she brought to light a community and a perspective that we haven't seen quite yet in such in a beautiful setting and in a beautiful environment.
Yeah.
And she changed it and she revolutionized it because right now we need to see inclusivity on the screen because that's what America looks like. And Jenny is the key. She is it.
I'm just gonna venture to say that also maybe what makes Jane amazing in what it is Jane.
Well, the acting on the show is so unique because, you know, you have this mix of styles: comedy, drama, melodrama, meta humor in one scene. In 1 minute. It's very, very unusual to see actors doing all of these different things on one show. And I'm just wondering, you know, when you signed on to the show, did that feel daunting? What were the challenges to you? Had you considered yourself one type of actor versus another? And just how you kind of, you know, how you manage that challenge, because you're all so good at playing all these different types of genres.
Me?
All of you. Go first.
I see. Yes, we're good. Next question.
I'm a New York actor, so and actually, I used to come to castings all the time in Milk Studios.
But Milk Studios suck it.
We'll call you.
No, so there are a lot of the majority of TV shows in New York are dramas, and so I've done a lot of dramatic TV. And so when Jane the Virgin came along, it was so refreshing for me to get to do comedy, because I used to do sketch comedy at Caroline's and in a Latino sketch group. So it was just like perfect for me to like get an opportunity to show that side of myself that people did not know that I actually had a funny bone. So. And then to be able to do both is amazing. You know, it's a dream come true.
When I was so sad when I lost Brett, obviously, like, it was like the worst experience, literally up to date as an actor in my life, because this man is like brings so much joy to me. I have so much makeup. Don't tell me. Me
too.
But I know. Terrible, buddy. We got makeup remover later.
Yeah, we got makeup.
But he. I lost him for a 4-year-old, which was like getting another version of Brett. But
a little more mature.
A little more mature.
Yes.
But he is so incredibly hysterical, and he's the one that had to be the most contained of all. And like, with all due respect, is by far the funniest. I mean, and Dad's pretty funny, but like, by far the funniest person ever. And he had to be so contained. I wonder what that had to be like. But then towards the end, he got to be like loose, and he got to like.
Yeah,
like season 3, you got to do like really funny stuff.
It was hard to contain myself. Jenny, you knew that.
Yeah, well, it was. You would find the joy in all of the moments, and some of the moments were cop moments.
Yeah, and I'd be like, I'm a police officer. So it was hard. I would just get it all out in between the takes. I'd be like, oh, I'm a detective.
Did you have a private conversation with Jenny about that? Did you ever we need to talk?
No,
I got one of those.
I feel like little moments.
Little moments, I would just say, when he's a cop, he's so serious.
Yeah, just he's a cop, right.
You know, like, the girls are pulling off their faces, but like act like that.
Yeah.
And then, but then, you know, the more you know Brett, and you just want to write to that joy, and I felt like in his and Gina's relationship, and in his and Rogelio's relationship, we really got we got to share them. We got to experience Brett's comedy.
And it'll be good to clarify to the people here that many of you think that the love story, the important love story on Jane, it might be like Jane and Raphael, or maybe Xiomara and Rogelio, but no.
Maybe.
The real love story is between Michael and Rogelio. So now,
so there's also not even there, but I'm just saying, you would think that would be the most beautiful love story ever.
Maybe there's something there.
Right?
Did you have a chemistry read for Jaime and Brett? Did you know that you were going to be writing this romance?
You know, once you get to know the actors, you just start to say, I want to see what happens with these two together. I want to see what happens with these two together. And then we saw it and we loved it.
That was so fun.
And we just,
It was really fun.
Jaime has chemistry with everybody. And Rogelio and Petra just had their first scene together in the season.
Yeah.
Which was very difficult because she has a very thick accent.
Yeah. I never have any idea what she's saying. Right? Well, what was that? I'm sorry.
You like carrots?
Sentences.
Yes, I know. We have nothing together.
You said nice shorts. I was like, hey.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That was a really long scene. But I really love that. I really love that scene. The nice shorts.
Yeah. And now Elle and I, we in the beginning obviously had this like serious, villain, what is that? Thank you. Yeah. We had that.
I was gonna say Neptune, but that's I'm glad I don't speak very much.
You should do it more often. I enjoy it.
Okay.
We've had so much of that, and then like when we both had the children from the same father. It was so awesome to start. Jenny put Gal and I together, and it was just so much fun.
It was magical.
It was so much.
And we only really
We're the
discovered that
greatest
later.
love story.
Oh, we are. Five interviews yesterday, and everybody was asking me what would be the happiest ending for Petra. I'm like, I think Jane and Petra need to run away together.
Just open a commune. Our babies run around naked. Got it. I agree.
But yeah, so we really discovered that, like, we love ping-ponging off each other, and we only really started doing that now. And it was,
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity, lots of opportunity in the show to grow and to test yourself and to test your comedy and your drama and because we do go from being extremely physical, lots of physical comedy and then crying and then somebody passes away and then all of a sudden they're resurrected. So there's lots of, there's a lot of opportunity.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. There's lots of opportunity as an actor to stretch your wings, to stretch yourself, to fail, to succeed, to learn something new about yourself. And I feel like we've all had the opportunity to do that because of the magical realism, because of all of our different storylines. None of us are stagnant, ever stagnant.
And I think also we come from a very sincere place because when you do, no, really.
Sure, yeah.
No, but really, when we live in this, when you live in this ridiculous universe and this outrageous universe, if you don't approach it with sincerity and with honesty as an actor, the audience, they don't believe you. And it's, if you build characters as outrageous as they are from the tip of your nose out, there's nothing there. So even in this, and of course we have beautiful dramatic moments with the Villanueva women and very thick and dark moments with murders and this and whatever. Rogelio lives in this outrageous universe, but we all come from our guts out, not from the tip of our nose out. And I think that makes a difference. That's why the audience buys into our craziness.
And I think that's why I can't imagine anybody else playing Rogelio, because I think that the way you do that specifically is just completely magical. Really, because
I love you.
Because he's such a out there character and so funny and so pompous, so sincere. It's so much from the heart.
People are charming narcissists.
You are, and you also have to do a lot of physical comedy on the show within a show. Where you have all this crazy climbing walls.
Talking about the conversation with Jenny, right? I'm like, Jenny, our conversation should be a show. It's really Jenny, we're gonna meet so much Thiago throughout time, the portal. Oh no, but I have a great idea. So now you're tiny. and you travel in women's bosoms.
Can we really make this happen in real life? We can't.
Well, my wife is like a Hungarian milkmaid. So
What's amazing to me is how you guys come up with these ideas. I would never think of something like that.
We have a great writers' room, great, a lot of fans of Inner Space. They got the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
70% are
perfect.
Yeah, really big women staff.
Yeah, it's mostly women. That we have our one token straight white male.
Yeah. And also, we've got a lot of female directors as well. Yeah. So that's. So just going into this season, I'm curious. Jenny, what were the main themes and kind of ideas you wanted to express, and what did you find the most challenging?
This season was about what happens after. Most of it was about thematically
how do you let go of the fairy tale and find the joy in life after loss. And different people's dreams evolved in different ways. The biggest challenge, of course, was having this, Michael's death, which was hard on a creative level and hard personally because we all love Brett so much. How to take that and still find the joy and the optimism and show that Jane is going to be okay, and how to help the audience navigate their sadness. We were doing a 3-year time jump, but it was the next week for the audience. So how to both sort of take it 3 years later, but always be holding their hand and saying, we're not forgetting about him, neither is Jane. He is the biggest part of our story engine going forward, and his memory is as big of a character in our back half as he was in the first half. And I think just navigating that space and figuring out how to stay comic and find the joy, and while still remaining faithful to how important this character was to so many of the characters was the challenge.
So what was the last day on set like with Brett?
Can't remember, I was drunk.
It was filming. It was the green screen filming the you guys on
the
Ferris wheel. I mean,
that was sad.
Yeah, that was.
I cried. But that was in the studio, right?
That was in the studio. But then he comes back in the finale. Spoiler. But that was our last day of the season.
Yeah.
This year.
Back in November.
Yeah.
You're talking about this season.
Yeah. In March he came, but the last scene we shot was you guys on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah. No, I think the saddest moment was probably, well, first of all, you were very kind to all of us because we love Brett very much and we love each other very much. So Jenny called us individually to her office. This is the plan. This has been the plan since the beginning of the show, but Brett brings so much to the table that we
couldn't let go for a while.
Exactly. So, but this is going to happen. So you kind of prepared us in a very beautiful way in advance. But then we had the table read.
God.
And it works like a lake of tears.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not just tears, but Haley made us alien masks.
Yeah.
It was all tears on her alien mask.
And then
Brett is an alien.
And then Jenny, the brilliant and beautiful woman that she is, she put together the package of the best of Brett Dyer's moment. At the end of the table, which of course the tears came even more.
And the worst was prior to that, they called me and they were like, do you have pictures of you and Brett or videos of you and Brett?
Yeah, oh God.
So this was me like this. My boyfriend's sitting next to me, I'm like, shh. And then I look over and Joe is crying also. I'm like, that's all right, baby. We're gonna get through this together. But yeah, I wonder what it was like for you.
I went numb for a bit there towards the end, just because I was like, oh God, because I'm gonna miss you guys. Well, I already am. I'm missing you. But I don't know. It was just a weird experience, and then just it was like the last day of school for me. It was just like, wow, all these people, all these memories, and then the video you made. It was just hit me real hard in the heart. But yeah, filming the last thing, it was 4:30 in the morning.
Always.
Yeah, and then, so we were kind of crying throughout the day.
Delusional, yeah.
And then I think we were delusioned out. So right when it was done, we were just kind of all right,
bye.
Everyone was just good night.
It's anticlimactic a little bit, right?
Yeah, but it was climactic earlier.
Oh, yeah.
See you tomorrow, no. See you tomorrow. Oh no, sorry. No.
Come on, man.
But the first half of the third season, because we also knew that he was leaving, it was they got to play with all his bunnies, and they wrote so much for Brett to really obviously break everybody's heart because it worked so well, and we got to do such awesome shit. It was so fun.
And you had your terrible stand-up.
Oh yeah, the stand-up.
Which is funny because he's so great at it.
Yeah,
and again, he had to play like he was bad at it.
That's brilliant. And then when we shot his death, Brett sent me this beautiful video to Jane. I posted it if you guys want to see it and cry. It's on my Instagram. But that was awesome. It was awesome stuff.
Yeah. I love working with you.
I love you too.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I read that you had actually planned to kill Michael off earlier in the story, but he so inhabited the character that you kept writing for him.
Was it you in the writer's room? We just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, but we haven't done this with him. Oh, but we haven't done this with him. And oh no, but maybe. And then we would say, you know what? That's a bad idea. We're not going to kill him. Here's what we're going to do. And we would go through a lot of different stories, and then we would kind of come back to, you have to kind of put how much you love someone aside and like follow the path of the story, and that's what we were trying to do. But we did delay it as far as we could.
Was there ever a point where he was going to die before him and Jane had sex?
There was.
That would have been sad.
There was a point.
That would have been sad.
Right. There was a point. Well, I mean, there were just earlier incarnations.
It's like episode 2, season 1.
Yes. So long. There were different incarnations because you're also, thinking, when are we going to let go of the, Jane the Virgin? When are we going to lose that? How many, more iterations can we have?
How long can she wait?
Yeah, how many wacky situations can we put in to delay that?
Yeah.
And then suddenly we realized, no, of course it's got to be Michael, and that's going to free her up in a lot of ways for the back half of the series anyway. And once we saw the chemistry that Gina and Brett had, we wanted to push it off as long as possible. So the change was made early on, but originally I hadn't thought that was going to happen.
But it's so interesting because to lose somebody that was so loved and is still so loved, and I still get mad tweets like, y'all are, bring Michael, and I'm like, I don't like this. Right? So why are you not doing me like that? But, it's almost as though, Brett's beautiful talent and his heart, he helped sacrifice, because for the bigger journey of Jane, it really is beautiful to see somebody and go through this transformation as we do as human beings, where we go from being very wide-eyed and at times naive and so in love with this romance and this idea that nothing bad in life happens if you just play it by book, if you just 1 + 1 = 2, and that's just not the way life works, and it's not the way life looks, and that's not a bad thing either, that we go through losses and pain, and we grieve, and we go through, failures, because that is what life looks like. And I think that a testament to Jennie's ability to tell stories is to not only, integrate social commentary without judgment and all these social issues that we need to talk about in our art, which makes it so fun to watch, because then you're like, oh shit, they're talking about real life. And that is something that Jennie has done, and I think all of us feel very strongly as activists that we want to use our art for social change, that she needed this girl to go through what we go through in real life in order to talk about real life and relate to real life, that our character actually has to go through it. And Jane now is a little more cynical and not as perfect, and realizes that her being judgmental is not cool, and maybe she is like that, and that's not cute. But it's just it allows us to tell a story separate from ourselves, a story that is full and that is reflective of life. And Brett, your sacrifice, because losing you was the hardest thing, your sacrifice really allows us to reach more people, and I think reach more people in a way that makes art so beautiful for healing.
Yeah, I felt that too. I when you told me, as hard as it was to hear, I knew that it was going to be for the best, because it's just such another side to the show that hasn't been seen, and it's just, there's a lot to explore there.
I love that on the show, every character is maturing and growing, even Alba.
Yeah. Oh, so much.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that people are, changing at every point in their life, and everyone is very self-reflective, which makes the character development so rich. So I'm just curious, how have you seen your characters as changing, and does that change how you perform them?
Well, mine was alive and now he's dead.
That's kind of like nature. That was the best. That's really fun. So how are you playing the dead character?
I think for Petra, the 3-year jump was simply magical, because how often do you really get to completely refresh a show and find your characters in completely new places a few years later? I mean, you get to pretty much reinvent your character and have, with that jump, it's incredible. And so Petra,
For example, I think, the magical thing that she went from having postpartum depression to suddenly being a really annoying super mom. To, being like magical with her children and everything. And for me, that was, fantastic to be able to have that.
That kind of redemption for like a villainous character is lovely because we are not all one-sided. Right?
No,
I find that to be so awesome about your character and the way you play it too, because at first it was like almost working with you was like, damn, this girl's real good at being like harsh. Like, yo, you like me in real life, right? Right? We get along? But I'm still working on it. But yeah, to see you like now get to play a girl that understands her mistakes is not the way she wants to continue to live is really dope.
Thank you. Did you always expect to develop Petra so much because she's such a fan favorite now?
Yeah, well, we had a talk early on, Yael and I, before the pilot about what it would be to play a villain. And I said, well, she's not the villain. To her, she's the hero of her story. And she is always going to have a reason for doing what she's doing. As she's part of the reason we put her mother on was so that you would be like, oh, that's worse. Because that must be so nurturing. I think of Petra as a survivor. Like, she's had really hard circumstances. I don't think she does evil things to be evil. She does them to survive, and because that's what she's had to do. And like, I like playing with that. And I told Yael early on, like, don't worry, she's not going to be a one-note villain. And even in the second episode, if you look back in the first season, you realize that part of all of her craziness and trying to steal the sperm and all, things that one does when they're upset, is that
I did it yesterday.
Yeah. Was because she felt that the love of her life was moving away from her, and that he didn't love her, and she got desperate, and she felt desperate, and it's a crazy thing she did. Mm-hmm. But still, there was a reason behind it. I think as long as you have the reason behind it and know that, and in the writers' room, we always take the script and then take a pass from every character's point of view, so that no character is just a cog in somebody else's story. They all have a point of view and they all have their own motivations, and that's how we try to keep everyone three-dimensional.
And mom, mom.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, for me as a Latina and as an actress, it's been so refreshing. It's been so refreshing for me, even the little girl inside of me, to play Xiomara, because Xiomara could easily have been the stereotypical sexy vixen Latina one note, and
you are.
What can I say? But for the little girl inside of me, and for all of the little girls out there who are Latina, it means so much to them and to me that Xiomara is dimensional, that she has flaws, and that she has positive traits, and they're all mixed into one, and that she's evolving. And that is so important to the psyche of Latino children out there, and even just people realize that all these messages, subliminal messages that we're getting through the media,
make us feel a certain way about ourselves.
Yeah, and so I was almost expecting that Xiomara would be that one note, and I was fearful that that would be what it would be. And I learned early on that no, that's not what Jennie was going to do. What she did not have that in mind, and I completely trusted her after the second episode of season 1. And I was just so I just feel so honored and so blessed to be doing this part. And the other thing that I learned through playing Xiomara is that acting is not just for me. Mm-hmm. I used to think it was a selfish kind of profession, and I realized that it's actually a service, that through my art form, through my expression, that I get to serve other people and inspire them in ways, and send messages in ways, and teach morality in different ways. And it means so much to me to play Xiomara.
Yes.
We don't know women are criers.
Yeah, are criers. The Porch of Tears. Rogelio is such a evolving character.
handsomeness.
No, I think they're gonna. Well,
You've gotten more handsome.
evolves into handsomeness, meaning it becomes more.
Finer with age, yeah. They're like a fine wine.
Just right. No, well, you all know where Rogelio lives, but I do think that it is. I love the way they write him because he does evolve. I mean, he loves his family and he has very beautiful, heartfelt moments, like when you first call him dad, or when he realizes things that he loves Xiomara, that he loves his family. So even though, he makes you laugh and everything, he has also very heartfelt moments. Or for example, when he mourned Michael in the last episode. And I love that about Rogelio, that he is indeed multi-dimensional, even though it's pretty evident where he lives and his universe. He does he has these breakthroughs of heart and emotion, and I love that about him as well.
I find it similar to the Petra character too, like your character, because you see all your the intent to help, even though it's like I'm gonna tweet Gloria Estefan. Let me just call Oprah, his second best friend in the whole world.
Third is Bruno Mars.
I know.
Gloria Estefan.
Of course. But what I do find is that Michael. But I do find that he does. You see his genuine nature and his beautiful heart in these ridiculous attempts to show that his family does come first and his child comes first, and you get to see it, and he's
I wanted to talk about Zoe and Bro a little bit too.
That rhymes.
Zoe and Bro finally in the second half of the season are getting married in the finale, and I'm
officiating it.
And I learned how to pronounce the word officiant. I had to go do ADR because I kept pronouncing it efficient. And I had to go twice to do ADR, and I was like, no, you cannot pronounce it.
No, we had to know where you were, and then we looked on her Instagram, and it was Workout Wednesday. We're like, she's in LA. We can get her.
Anyway, so it's officiant. Just so you know. Not officiant. But anyway,
and I'll do confessionals after this. You can call me a priest.
Thanks to what church?
Yeah, thanks to the church. I don't remember. Circle of Life. Circle of Life. Unitarian Church. Yeah. That's where I got ordained.
So it's officiant?
Officiant.
Not
officiant.
officiant.
Not efficient.
I've been calling it efficient my whole life.
That's what I'm saying.
You're Canadian.
Well, that's not efficient at all.
I googled it, and I was like, they're fucking right. See? I'm in Europe, back in my hometown. Anyways, where were we?
Well, I was wondering, how, I know you're all kept in the dark a little bit about what's going to happen with your characters, but how, did you know this was coming? Because of all the relationships on the show, yours feels like the most predestined in a way.
Yeah, well, Jenny threw me a bone at the end of season 2 last year and said, they have to end up together. Of course they do. I was like, oh, okay. And then I had to keep that to myself one year. So yeah, I'm glad that it is that way. It means a lot. It's like Parent Trap,
Yeah. Brilliant movie, by the way.
Second favorite movie.
Third.
We have a clip from the finale.
Really? Oh, come on.
This thing is so well passed, we can take it to the top of Everest and we'd be fine. No.
I told you we'd make a mess.
Welcome to the Marbella. Sorry the Fairwick failed you. Next time maybe use a hotel that has a safety plan.
Wait! We can't do this. We have to keep this room clear for the be on the way of a wedding. We're in the middle of a hurricane. Raphael was very clear. He promised Jane. Of course he did.
My dress was in my backpack, so... I am so sorry. I feel terrible.
Mom, not so much.
Of course my dress is ruined. Look around. We're getting married in the middle of a hurricane. Oh, who cares? I just want to marry your father.
Okay, well then we'll make do. Hey, we got the hookup at the gift shop. Oh, and you know what? I won't even wear my dress so that I don't distract from the bride.
No, it's fine. You're the officiant, so you should stay.
Antes de que suceda todo esto. De hecho, te lo voy a quitar.
Eso sí.
Para que no llores, porque tu maquillaje está muy lindo. Te quiero mucho. Y si tu padre viviera, estoy segura de que se sentiría muy orgulloso de la mujer en la que te has convertido.
She's still yelling.
On the bright side, at least no one will see Jane's dress.
Okay,
So what's the word again?
officiant is not corrected in this one. It will be when you get. But it will be when it airs. When it airs, it will be correct.
Yes.
I love that the show always brings it back to the Bien Nueva woman and kind of how their relationships affect their dynamic. And I just wanted you guys to talk about filming that scene because it's so touching and like kind of captures just the relationship they have, but it also feels like it would have been hard to not laugh during that scene when she's yelling so loudly. So I'm just curious how that played out.
I mean, we just connected from day one,
Yeah.
right? And we never had a chemistry. I mean, you and I had chemistry, but the
She
three
was
of
on
us.
the red. It was always going to be her.
Oh, yeah.
It's always.
It was always you, Mom.
But I don't know. I mean, and you know, just the fact that we're Puerto Rican, of Puerto Rican descent, the three of us, it was not planned. I don't know. It's just there's a sensibility that we have an understanding. It's just an unspoken understanding that clicks, and so a lot of our scenes are effortless. So we don't really have to work for them.
Yeah, we fall right into our places. It's like you yell action and she is my mom and Yvonne is my grandma, and like there's total respect and I know how to treat them and they treat, you know, and like when we're talking about the evolution of things though, like in the beginning, our dynamic was I'm really the mom and she's the kid, and you know I don't, you know, because I have my shit together and I know what's up and mom's gonna like probably do something that's gonna make us fall, and that interesting when you feel like you're the parent in your dynamic with your family, and then the evolution of like now I go to mom and I know mom did so much to protect me and to help me, and she has the wisdom, and there was a shift in also like I think that effortless shift of like, yeah, mom knows what's up, and I'm foolish to have ever believed I could have been parenting her. I was always just so afraid as like a character as Jane.
One of the reasons why I think it works so well, the three women, is because it is truly reflective of the Latino community. Because it is the women who are the core of the family.
Oh yeah.
And it's the women that run the ship. They earn the money. They put the clothes on your back. They put the food in your hand. It's true. I mean, for the majority, not to put down Latino men. No. We sitting right here. But in my experience, you know, like it was my grandmother and my mother and her sisters, and it was them that was like a solid rock. And there were fights, and there was love, and there was laughter, and sadness, and all kinds of stuff like that. And
always respect, though.
Always respect. So, but you always knew that if the shit hit the fan, that you had each other's back. And so for me, those three women are so important to the Latino community as well, and that the way it's being portrayed in our show. And it's really important to my family, you know, because they're getting to see themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
and a
it's
matriarch,
really, really awesome.
and a matriarch society. I mean, let's not deny women be doing it, you know. in all cultures, in all religions, like women hold down so much.
How cool it is at our show, and because I have a daughter and I love my wife and I'm a biggest feminist, but I love the fact that the show is led by 3 generations of women. those are our leads of the show. I think that's brilliant.
I also like the show is very subtle in its progressive messaging, where you even have, the show within a show, Tiago or whatever the telenovela is run by women. So you kind of have this world that feels kind of almost idyllic in a way, or like this image of like
where we're headed.
Where we're headed, exactly. And yeah, like there's all this talk right now about like TV being so relevant in the Trump era. But your show has been doing this kind of stuff since the beginning, from taking on illegal immigration to abortion, and I know it's important to you to have this in your show, but does the time that we live in now change how you approach the show at all? Because I do remember you had mentioned one thing about Jane and Michael's first kiss, and how you changed that scene kind of subtly, where at first Michael goes in for the kiss, but
she says, no, I don't want to kiss you.
Yeah.
And he kind of goes in for it, and it was right when Trump was like making the
grabbing things.
and my parents were so sick. I just was like, I don't want to like have that be the paradigm that the girl says no, and he just kisses her anyway, and how romantic. I thought, oh, that's a small thing. But I need Jane to move in first, and I told Jane, I just need you to move in first so that she's the one that's initiating it. And I feel like all these small moments add up to so much. And even at the beginning, we would always have the directors in the show within the show be women. And I can't remember at one point somebody was pitching something, and they were like, could a doctor be a man on the show? And I'm like, I guess. I don't know. You want a giant plot twist, I think we're just bombarded by the same images, so we're just trying to be mindful of each and every one, and not to take any for granted that all these small things that you see add up to what you think about yourself in the world. So we want to make sure that all of our decisions are deliberate.
Yeah, because romance, it's so interesting when you said that, because I had felt that while we were doing it, but I had never really known that was your intent. But it is really cool to make the woman the aggressor, or the one that is making the decision maker.
Yeah.
Because we seldom do see that, and how subliminal that can be.
Yeah, that you say no, but all you really want is to be kissed.
Yeah.
Yes means no. Or no means yes.
Yeah. So I think it's just being deliberate and mindful of all the small moments and how they add up to what we see and what we think of ourselves.
And Jaime, you had mentioned earlier how everyone on the show cries a lot. And I actually really love this about the show, because it takes emotion seriously. And Gina, especially your character, you have to conjure up a lot of tears, and it always makes me cry when you cry. And I'm just like, how do you do it, kind of? How do you have to do multiple takes? Do you have to be able to cry all the time?
There's always one day. She is an acting machine programmed not to fail.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's what she's amazing.
It's super emotionally available.
Listen, the superhero actress, my story, don't mess it up.
Okay,
because I'm going there.
I'm gonna go back.
No, she is an amazing, we all know because you've seen her, but she's an amazing artist. But the way that she can manipulate emotions in very long days, sometimes we work 15, 16-hour days, and during that day she needs to be happy, laugh with me, with Xiomara, and then cry because Michael died, and then it's just everything is in one single day of shooting. So, the talent that this woman has. It's
not to mention all the outside pressures of all the other things that she's doing. So she carries a lot, she's doing a lot. I'm sure you guys follow her and know all the amazing things she's doing, but she still is able to deliver under a lot of pressure and stress.
This is when you applaud.
To be working 16 hours a day and every day for 3 years, and to be keeping such an incredibly happy, good vibe, leading every single day a team of how many people is our cast and crew? And keeping that mood up and happy and smiling every day, just so happy to come to work.
And making everyone feel appreciated.
And loved. It's just unheard of and unreal, and she does that.
question.
That's how I do it.
Well, I did want to talk just about, the relationships that have been developed in this latter half of the season have been developed so well between, Jane and Petra, like as you talked about, between Jane and Raphael, and between Petra and Raphael. So now that we have Petra and Raphael kind of creating this new love triangle, now that it's introduced that Jane is having feelings for Raphael again, it's a lot more complicated than the first time Petra and Raphael were together, because they didn't seem good together at the time. And now, we're a lot more invested in Petra as a character. And well, first of all, would you ever consider a throuple? So hard.
The more than one off and raise it together. That's
Raphael can clean up.
Yeah. We really assigned him as room mom.
Yeah.
It's not like you stay here, take care of that.
But more seriously, I guess, it feels like the way the show approaches relationships, it feels a lot about timing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious what...
That is relationships, though.
Yeah, totally. And it's not what you usually get with these types of love triangles on TV. And I'm wondering what the show's philosophy on relationships is. Do you think one of these couples is better suited for each other than another, or...
The idea of meant to be is something that we look at and deconstruct and reconstruct all the time. And is there one person for you, or could you be with any number of people depending on timing and luck and circumstance? That is something we look at. I wanted Jane to move from where she was, which was in the center of the love triangle, and she had Michael and Raphael. And what does it mean when it shifts this way? And suddenly, Raphael's at the center of one, and is that going to happen? And also, they are all in a relationship. They have kids together, and their kids are family. And I always love the idea of this Frankenstein family, that through these unusual circumstances, they are tied together for life. So that changes a love triangle. A thing that you might do if you might not see the other person again is totally different when they co-parent in a lot of respects. And I feel like just the fact that they're all parents together and that they all are a family makes it much more complicated, much more rich, and much more interesting to write and to think about. It becomes not just that sort of romantic, I'm in a love triangle. It's what does this do to our family, or what does this do to our family, and how do we move together as a unit? I think they're already a throuple,
Well, the stakes are much higher now that there's kids involved. I remember when Petra was pregnant, suddenly Raphael and Justin and I were having a scene, and suddenly we're like, whoa, they're gonna be family now. That means they're in life with Ty and Jane, and that's forever. That's a real thing. Marriage can come and go, but kids are forever.
Yeah.
And so the stakes are just really high, which I think this is what's so wonderful about your writing about this show, is that the stakes keep getting higher, and though we burn through stories so fast and so much, it just keeps getting more interesting. And even if it's the same characters, they keep changing so much that it just even the fact that with the 3-year jump, that Jane and Petra had Saturday brunches. And they were secret friends, and they knew each other in each other's lives, but they won't admit it to each other. So
Or you won't admit it, because I'll admit it. I'm into it.
Well, here it's fine.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what keeps it interesting.
This woman is just so brilliant. I just
I'm hearing all of my friends and family members talk about this, and I'm thinking to myself, I fucking love my show. I love my show, and every single storyline and every single turn of it. I just love working with you.
I think that's also why, working 16 hours a day, 5 days a week, 8 months a year is a lot of work, and it is nothing to scoff at. It really, really is. And to be with people in that small space for that long of time, you go through real normal, interactions, but there's so much appreciation for being able to do what you love, because if you want to talk about starting from the top, it's starting from this top. This woman is so humble and so kind, and really keeps our family together, uses uses the people that we love that are actors, and brings in people and brings in people that want an opportunity, want a new opportunity, changes the way we view the doctors, the lawyers on the show, see, body types, she's her her awareness for what's happening in the real world, her awareness for what happens to a human being is so on point and so unapologetic that she can be honest, that we can engage in a way that allows us to appreciate and love our fucking show, you know? It's like, and it's all because of you, dude.
The fans of this show are so dedicated, and
It was the best.
I like when it was Team Michael versus Team Raphael.
Boys were, oh my god.
He doesn't have to worry anymore.
All of them.
Too soon, man.
I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Were you surprised by fans' reactions? Because I felt like a lot of fans and even the cast had indicated they were Team Michael.
Never.
Yeah, we were all Team Michael, right?
Yeah. Well, it's also because we're all in like our 30s, right? So when you're in your 20s,
Very early.
Well, I mean, you're not in your 30s.
Because I don't have abs.
You're like 18. How old are you? 18?
Untrue. It's more so like I think like when I was in my 20s, I'd be like Team Raphael, and not because of his looks, but because of that like that playboy like you know.
Yeah, the confidence.
Whatever this is, right? And then when you're in your 30s, you're like, you want a dude that's like nice, that has foundation, that got your back, that's gonna be there. It's like you learn, you know. That's why I'm not with the guy that I dated when I was in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the reason why we're all Team Michael, because we understand like that character, not just Brett and obviously the way he plays it, but that character is like who you want to live with forever, right? And when you're younger, you're like, that's who I want to mess with. Right? I'm not the Team Raphael. But it shifts also as those characters evolve also. You know, like when Brett's character, when Michael was becoming like a little like nasty and like a little, you know, with the lies and the this and the hidden and the like, I was like, no. And then my natural sense of the human being was like, I'm more Team Raphael, who's trying and working towards me. So it is like the evolution of the characters really makes you flip-flop, and that's a testament to the writing again.
I had a small question. Oh, were you gonna?
No.
Okay.
No.
She is Jane, actually.
When you see on the show when someone is kind of having feelings for someone, their heart glows.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, as actors, do you know that your heart is going to be glowing in that scene? Like, does it know in the script? Heart glowing.
It's an actual acting technique.
It's called heart glowing.
Heart glowing 101.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Snapchat thing for that, right?
Yeah, we gotta do a Snapchat.
Snapchat. Listen, there should be a thing where you can make, you know, your heart glows.
You can't wear dark colors. Yeah, you wear dark colors, and there's always special shots for it.
Yeah.
And it's always very specific because you gotta put the CGI in.
We know. Not long ago, where I was walking in and you were hugging Raphael,
And my heart was glowing.
yeah, and I kept walking in and they kept, no, my heart wasn't glowing.
Yeah.
No. Are you kidding me? It's really glowing. I'm like, I can't see it. So yeah.
How many actors have played young Jane? Because I feel like there have been
42.
Yeah, 4.
Four.
Liana, Jenna, Allison, and Muncie.
Yeah.
They're great. I was
It was
totally
like
watching
7,
Phenomenal.
11,
Young
16,
Yes,
right?
yes,
7,
exactly.
11, 16.
Nice.
And then how
got
Gina
older.
manages to transform herself into looking 18 is just magical.
Oh yeah, and Jane, and Gina plays 18-year-old.
Which is yours. That's great.
Those scenes where you get to transform into, you know, you do a lot of parodies too, and one of the ones I loved was this season, the Sex and the City parody. I thought, Andrea, your Samantha was so spot on. So spot on.
It was awesome.
And how did you decide for Rogelio to be Charlotte?
How did you decide? I would like to know.
Well, because you know, in that iteration, his daughter is Grandma has to be Miranda, but his daughter's talking about sex, and he might feel a little prudish about hearing his daughter talking about sex. He is a sort of old-fashioned. he is a more old-fashioned kind of guy in general. and very put together. So those were the elements.
Great,
but they're all sitting around and gossiping about sex. Who's going to be the one that maybe doesn't want to hear all the details? Is her dad.
Yeah.
AKA
I love that this season, this was tied into the Jane the Horn Dog storyline. And it's so great to see Jane tapping into that side of her, because you also just don't see that on TV that often without it being kind of comical for a woman to be sexual in that way. So what was it like to play into that part of?
Well, I absolutely loved it too, because it plays to the bigger story. It's like at first we had this girl that held to her convictions, and she was making the unpopular popular, because everybody's like, it's popular to be like almost, into sex. It's not as popular to be, to hold to this, to like, yeah, air humping. But it's not as popular to hold to your convictions and to wait until marriage. So it was kind of dope that we were like spinning that on its head. It's like, oh, awesome, now we have this girl that is deciding to keep herself till marriage, but she's also like attracted to men, and men are attracted to her, and she's cool, and she's fly, she's got her shit together. She doesn't have to be like the super like, oh my god, no sex. Clearly she wants to masturbate, and she wants to she wants to discover her body and and it's a really cool juxtaposition because we never see it that way. It's like if you're holding yourself for marriage, you're like, oh my god, I can never talk about it. No, this doesn't feel comfortable. But instead going through those uncomfortabilities out loud, being like, Mom, I want to have a fling. Like, I actually just want to learn what it is to have sex with a man and not be in a relationship, right? Which, in our day and age, that is much more common than the latter. So it was really cool to play with that, to say like, of course she wants to do it. She's a freaking animal. She's a human being. She got urges. And it's been 3 years. She got urges. And it's nice to see that played out on screen for women to be comfortable in being sexual and being safe sexual. And so that's what she wanted to do with like Fabian, and that storyline was really cool because it had been 3 years. Like that's another cobweb amount of time. You know what I'm saying? So it was a nice, good amount of time to keep her on lock. Now she wants to like keep her on lock. So now she wants to like go into that, and those kind of conversations are necessary because it isn't spoken about, and women are discussed in a way where like they're the sexual object versus being like one that wants to seek out someone to be sexual. It was a very cool conversation and piece to play for sure.
I thought it was interesting to see the thought process that Jane had about the whole thing too. It wasn't just
I want him.
Going on an urge. There was a lot of thought behind it, and I think that's good to be an example for young girls who are watching the show.
Yeah, they talk about it.
Thought
be like,
behind
God, I can't just date. I don't know how to just be like, I don't know how to be anything but what I've always been. And I really want to see what else there is out there, and I want to discover new parts of myself. And that's what was great about the time jump too. For Jane, for all the characters, but for myself, I got to play what it is to really evolve into being a woman and discovering herself. And Jenny's so good about talking about real life and what you're really going through. Like when I lost my virginity, it wasn't all like, ooh, ow. It was like, this is awful. This is uncomfortable. Please don't touch me like that. This is not right. Because that's really what losing your virginity looks like. It's not like, that's so we never see that. We never see that. I never saw that. And I was one of 3 girls, and they never talked to me about sex. Like my sisters never talked to me about sex. My parents never talked to me about sex. So I think that like art is really cool to use to be like, let's talk about this that isn't talked about.
Yeah, and I think the reception to Jane the Virgin has been it's been such a critically acclaimed show. But on the flip side, you also get some people talking about it as if it's a guilty pleasure, which I feels kind of like it has to do with what genres we take seriously as a culture. Have you encountered that at all, or what has been your experience of how people receive the show?
Sometimes you have people saying it's a guilty pleasure, and that clearly feels like a very gendered response. What are we taking seriously? We're taking seriously tortured men who only speak in like soft tones and shadows. And I understand there's a lot of great stuff there, but I feel like that's the that's why Jane's a romance writer. She is, she respects that genre. That genre is often belittled. Romantic comedies, that it all, it starts to seem female, and then it becomes sort of something that you dabble in and not something that you take seriously. And so I feel like that is a little bit part of what the show goes up against, and then part of what we try to criticize from within the show by making Jane a romance writer, and by, I'd like to do some magical realism of like a dark and stormy anti-hero.
Do it.
Yeah. And how serious everyone is.
That would be, just one very serious episode.
A really serious
just
everything.
See, now what I find is like when people say to me like, and it is a very specific demographic that'll say it's a guilty pleasure because they don't feel comfortable saying that they like it. I just recently met someone who was like, oh my God, my daughter is a really big fan of yours, and she watches the show, and I was like, oh, it's super dope, give her my love, like that's so cool. And he was like, yeah, when I watch it with her, it's like my guilty pleasure. And I was like, that's cool too. What's interesting is that they're not mutually exclusive. It's still good, and it can still be a guilty pleasure.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, nah, I have a feeling you like it a little more than your daughter does. And he was like, well, I can't say this. Rogelio is just like I am. And I think it actually is just a testament to that person and how they feel about themselves, about feeling the way they do about the show. So like, I find Rihanna to be my guilty pleasure, right? Because I love listening to her and dancing to her when I'm by myself, but she's bomb. And she's talented, and she's a fun performer. So I think that they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Right. Just a pleasure.
Just a pleasure.
Yeah.
And it could be guilty.
Yeah.
The Bachelor is mine.
I think that, all right. We learn something new every day.
All right, Justin Bieber is mine. Is he?
Nice.
Wait, who's your guilty pleasure?
Mine too.
I don't know, ancient aliens.
Ancient aliens. Okay, how about you?
We could go on.
Harry Styles.
That's a sweet song.
This is like 3 days I've been listening to that. What's it called? Carolina?
Harry Styles.
We need to go on forever. You gotta cut us off.
Brett, you mentioned The Bachelor, and Jane's Version is actually one of 2 network shows this season to not lose viewers. And
I love
other shows.
Hairstyle.
But it's Jane the Virgin and The Bachelor that have
That's
lost
awesome.
viewers, which is amazing. And it's been so consistently good for all 3 seasons. And you have such a clear idea of how this story is going to play out. And you've said that it plays out in 3 parts. We have part 1 ending when Mateo was kidnapped. Part 2, the end of part 2 was Michael's death. And we don't know what the end of part 3 will be. But do you have a sense about how long it will take to get there?
Like, I do.
There is an ending to the story, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I have to talk to the other people involved, but I know when this story ends and how it ends, and what Jane's version of a happy ending looks like.
That means we won't. I said that means we won't have a judge.
Welcome to the club.
No, but worth it. This one's ready.
So this is what happens on set every single day.
Seriously, we get yelled at.
I'm just kidding. What?
Yeah, another one. Okay.
Yeah.
How is everyone, by the way? Is everyone good?
And you
By the way, what's that clock counting down?
So that we have.
That's when we're done.
Okay.
It's going to explode. She'll be right by
But it seems like you have like a PTSD.
ADHD.
Yeah.
You mentioned Brett's
love for aliens.
Squirrel. Aliens?
Aliens.
Yeah. He thinks they're coming to get him.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no.
It's the best.
I love your laugh.
I'm going.
I love it.
He's a laugh track with you. She's a laugh. We
Oh my God.
He's our guy. Well, I don't want to look over here. We're running out of time, as the clock indicates. As we're heading into season 3, what do you see as kind of season 4? Four. What do you see as kind of the challenges that will face our heroine and everyone else as well? And kind of what are the themes you want to explore? Everyone except
we don't know this yet. Yeah, I mean, this is a big year. How can I'm trying not to give anything away. But
Come on,
something
Jenny.
interesting. What is it?
Yeah, no.
This is we've seen Jane through the healing process, and this is going to be about Jane recapturing some joy. And having breakthroughs professionally and personally. Rogelio and, we have a lot of things that happen in the finale, so it's hard, but there's a big surprise coming for Rogelio and Zoe that really throws their relationship into flux. There's some interesting moves for Petra and Aneshka is going to counter in different ways. I don't know. I want to be really vague.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
that was the most vague. She's gonna do something,
There's gonna be
some other thing, and she's gonna.
But once you see the finale, you'll see things that are set up, and season 4 might come a little more into focus.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much.
The Black Girl Nerds podcast is produced by Jamie Broadnax. Various episodes are edited by Jamie Broadnax, M.R. Daniel, and John Bauer. The opening theme song to our show is written and performed by Samus. Various instrumentals are performed by Samus, Sky Blue, and Shubzilla. You can find episodes of the Black Girl Nerds podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spreaker, and Spotify.
That was a HeadGum podcast.